Zan from the Jam Station, and today I'm showing you 5 essential fusion licks and how they relate to the 5 cage system Dorian shapes. Did you know that stepping outside of your pentatonic scales to absorb some new sounds can transform your playing? So let's do that. Put simply, the roots of fusion date back to the late 1960s when jazz musicians such as Miles Davis started to experiment with rock rhythms and electric instruments. Some people consider fusion music to be complex and atonal, and sometimes it is, but learning to play licks that are neither straight blues nor rock can really add a touch of sophistication to your playing. So a common problem many guitarists face when looking at fusion is how to create interest when playing over a static vamp. And by that I mean a chord that doesn't really change much, doesn't really move. So we're going to look at 6 common devices which you can add to your playing and phrasing to help create that interest. They are: number 1, sequencing to create predictable elements to the phrase and draw the listener in. 2, the use of chord tones and non-chord tones to build or release tension. 3, large interval skips, okay, to add an element of surprise to your phrases. Number 4, superimposed arpeggios to add some color. I'll explain more of that later. 5, chromaticism for that slight outside feel. And number 6, playing on the offbeat to give a funky syncopated sound. Today we'll also look at the 5 cage shapes of the Dorian modes as vehicles for using these techniques. And finally we'll string all 5 of these phrases together into one cool solo which ascends the neck as we move through it. Stay with me to the end where I'm going to play these licks in a call and response style where we can take it in turns to jump to the backing track. Let's begin. Okay, remember we're adding chapters into the description. Use those if you'd like to repeat or even skip a section. Firstly, the Dorian mode. Do you know it? Given that we want to get on with these licks, I'm going to quickly demonstrate an easy way of recognizing the Dorian now. And if you'd like to get that little bit deeper and understand the construction of the mode, then leave a comment below. I'll be more than happy to put together a lesson on modes. So Dorian in a nutshell. You're taking your basic minor pentatonic framework of root, minor third, 4th, 5th, minor 7th. Okay, we all know that scale. And to that you're going to add a minor 2nd, 2nd, and a major 6th. Okay, it's a cool sound. Ideal in this kind of setting. All 5 cage shapes are included on the associated tab, which you can download from Patreon, linked below. Here's lick 1, which uses the E shape of the A flat Dorian mode. Let's listen to it. So, devices to look out for on points of interest. Well, it starts with a few bars. It starts with a few bars. Let's do that again. Devices to look out for on points of interest. It starts with a few beats of ascending sequencing, okay? Namely, we're in A flat minor, A flat Dorian, fret 4. So the sequencing. This is effective because it feels familiar when you start to ascend the scale like that. You sort of almost know where the lick is going, even if only for a few beats. We're also starting on the offbeat each time. You'll notice 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. Okay, it's quite funky. We then come down the scale from the 9th. Okay, placing this non-chord tone. Okay, on a strong beat 3 really does emphasize it. As mentioned, another typical fusion technique is large interval skips. And here we're jumping a 7th from fret 4 of the G string back up to that 9th at fret 6. Okay, it's a big jump, practice it. Let's move on to lick 2, which uses D shape. Okay, this starts with a really cool superimposed arpeggio. Let's listen to it. Now, I'm sure you know what an arpeggio is. I'm sure you know it's the notes of a chord played in order. So if we're playing A flat minor, we're playing root, flat third, fifth, back to the root. But what do I mean by superimposed? Well, we're playing over an A flat minor chord, which contains those intervals, but we're going to play or superimpose the arpeggio of another chord. In this case, C flat major 9. It's a lovely sound over that A flat. The major 9th arpeggio contains a root, major 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. But, and here's where the magic happens, when we're playing those notes over an A flat minor, we hear those intervals as minor 3rd, 5th, minor 7th, 9th and 11th. Okay, we're getting all those lovely extensions, meaning that we're implying a beautifully elegant A flat minor 11. So there's the major 9, but with the A flat minor, it now sounds like A flat minor 11. That may seem like a lot. I've always found this concept fascinating. It's a great way to add some colour to your phrases. Let me know if you'd like to go into any extra detail with this very cool subject in another video. I can go deep. As we move into the second bar, you'll also see the use of legato and chromaticism. Okay, for a smooth, slightly outside sound. The notes are coming thick and fast, so we're not really targeting any chord tones here. We're building tension before it's released with a slide down to fret 4, which is our 5th, so back to a chord tone. Okay, and then another big jump up, this time on minor 7th, back to that lovely 11th. Again, it's a big jump, it sounds cool. 11ths and 4ths, they are essentially the same thing. They're naturally unstable, okay? They often sound quite queasy in a blues over a dominant 7, but here they can really help bring out that fusion sound. Before we move on to lick 3, I just want to recommend a couple of fusion players and records you could listen to if you're new to the genre but are curious, okay? As I've already said, early pioneers were Miles Davis, who on his groundbreaking album In a Silent Way, this year's, and even more so, Bitches Brew featured the astonishing playing of John McLaughlin, okay? To this day, one of the great jazz and fusion players. I was lucky to see him live with Jeff Beck. And Tommy Bolin and Jeff Beck, let's bring those two up as well. Two rock players who really helped bring fusion to the mainstream in the 70s. Check out Bolin's playing on Billy Cobham's Spectrum album. That's gonna look blurred. Maybe we can get some animation on screen. And Jeff Beck's amazing Grammy Award-winning Blow by Blow. Afterwards, it's the usual suspects. We've got American jazzers like Mike Stern, Pat Metheny, Larry Carlton, all of whom I've been lucky enough to see in London live, all of whom quite simply blew my mind when I saw them up close. If you're more into bands, check out US group Steely Dan, whose songs have a distinct fusion feel to them at times. And here in the UK, we've got Alan Holdsworth. I've mentioned him before in other videos. And if you like instrumental rock, check out Sean Baxter's jaw-dropping album, Jazz Metal, on Spotify. Right, back to the lesson. Lick 3, we're now using the C shape. Okay, there's the chord. Start with a couple of beats of octaves before beat 1. These are very common in jazz and funk. And then we move through a nice, simple A flat minor 7th arpeggio. That's root, minor 3rd, 5th, minor 7. Okay, that perfectly outlines the chord, so it's resolution. But we're going to follow that with some less stable non-chord tones. The 6th into the diminished 5th. Okay, so we're really creating tension now, and then back onto the minor 3rd. So we've basically got resolution, tension, resolution. Bar 2 highlights two of our featured techniques. Firstly, the jump of a minor 9th. Okay, so we've got a kind of... That's a big jump, okay? It's quite startling, in fact, so practice that. The bar is also very syncopated. All the notes are chord tones, but playing on the offbeat gives that really cool sort of... funky syncopated effect. Finally, with bar 3, we're going to use our blues scale here. We're adding in some chromaticism by running down the 5th, diminished 5th, and 4th of our A flat blues scale. The blues scale is so versatile. It doesn't sound at all out of place when used tastefully, even in a fusion setting like this. We're nearly there. Right, lick 4 starts with a repetition of a rhythmically displaced A flat minor triad. So we're up here, A shape, arpeggio. So you're going to rhythmically just play start, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. We then come down the Dorian mode, emphasising the flat 7, major 6th, down to the 2nd, and bending up to our 3rd, okay? Fans of Deep Purple may well recognise that part of the melody there. Lick 5 is our climax. We're now up in G shape. This phrase really does embody the fusion sound we're striving to achieve. The fingering is tricky. It's the hardest of all 5. Play it slowly, get it over the fingers because it's worth the effort once you can play this kind of lick at speed. Trust me. We're starting with a slightly edgy pickup which uses 2 chord tones, minor 3rd, 5th, and then 2 non-chord tones, 2nd, 6th. So you can hear resolution, tension straight away. We're then starting with some sequencing, okay? The first 2 notes of each sequence are essentially the same. We're changing the 3rd note. So we're playing up, our brains like this kind of phrase because again, the repetition sounds familiar. You can almost predict where it's going and we like that. We then move on to some super cool chromatic playing. The phrase is this. That does not sound one bit bluesy, but it is cool. Now, if you wanted to relate it to a pentatonic framework, we're in G shape, remember? So we're looking at this part, which probably is familiar to you. And we're gonna add to that our 7th, 6th, down to the flat 5th. Okay, so we're adding 3 notes to our G-shaped pentatonic. Just for something a bit stylish, I'm finishing with a semitone bend. So there. And then an A flat octave. Separated with a harmonic at fret 12. So A flat, harmonic, A flat. Play them all together, get them to ring out together, and then if you've got a whammy bar, bring them all down together. Right, let's put all 5 licks into a seamless solo which moves through the 5 cage shapes, and then let's talk next steps. Okay, it's your turn. Thanks for getting this far. Now take your time to learn these. They're not easy. Can you put the full solo together? If so, drop us a link with you playing it to the Deep Purple style backing track, or even just a metronome. But link to your video, we can share it on our social media. Otherwise, don't forget to comment below to let us know which of the 5 licks was your favourite. I can feature the most popular lick in a Lick of the Week style deep dive, okay, because I've really skimmed through these. Please do click like. Don't forget to subscribe. There are far too many of you who watch this content who are not subscribers. We're going to finish with me playing each phrase and leave 4 bars for you to try it. Okay, so I'll play the phrase. You can either try and play the phrase yourself or improvise your own lick. Good luck. See you soon.